At first, it feels natural. Someone gets closer. They ask more questions. They want more time, more honesty, more presence. And something inside you tightens. Not fear exactly, not panic, just a quiet pressure in your chest that says, this is getting too close. So you do what you always do. You pull away. You answer slower. You become less available. You start needing space without knowing what for. From the outside, it looks confusing. From the inside, it feels necessary. Because closeness doesn't feel like warmth to you. It feels like responsibility. When someone gets close, they don't just see you. They begin to expect you, to respond, to show up, to care consistently. And that's when the alarm goes off. Not because you don't care, but because caring has never felt safe. For you, closeness has always come with a cost. It meant being needed before you were ready. It meant being relied on when you were already overwhelmed. It meant that once someone leaned on you, you were no longer allowed to step back. So now, when someone starts leaning in emotionally, your body reacts before your mind can explain it. You don't think, I should leave. You feel, I need distance. This isn't avoidance in the dramatic sense. You're not running away. You're retreating just enough to breathe. Because deep down, you associate closeness with being trapped. You've learned that when people get too close, they don't just want connection. They want access. Access to your time, your energy, your emotional labor. And somewhere along the way, you learned that giving access means losing control. So you protect yourself the only way you know how, by creating distance before things become unmanageable. What makes this pattern confusing is that it often activates after things are going well. You can enjoy someone, feel curious, feel even excited, until the moment you realize they're starting to count on me. That's the moment your nervous system shifts, because being counted on feels like being cornered. Not because you're selfish, but because, at some point in your life, being needed came before being understood. You had to show up when you were tired. You had to stay when you wanted to leave. You had to manage other people's emotions while ignoring your own. So now, independence feels like safety. Distance feels like control. And closeness feels like a slow erosion of self. You may tell yourself that you just lose interest, that the spark fades, that something changes. But often, nothing changes except the level of expectation. The moment expectations rise, your instinct is to lower your visibility, to pull back just enough to feel like yourself again. You don't ghost, you don't explode, you simply fade. This is why you're often drawn to people who are emotionally unavailable. They don't demand consistency. They don't expect presence. They don't lean too hard. With them, you can stay close without feeling consumed. But when someone offers genuine availability, something inside you resists. Because availability feels like pressure. You may even feel guilty about this. You know the other person isn't doing anything wrong. You know they're just being open. But guilt doesn't override instinct. Your system learned a long time ago that closeness equals obligation, and obligation equals loss of autonomy. So you pull away, not to hurt, but to survive. The hardest part is that you may not even fully understand this pattern yourself. You just feel overwhelmed, irritated, restless. You start noticing flaws. You fixate on small annoyances. You tell yourself reasons why this won't work. But these reasons often appear after the distance begins. They're explanations, not causes. The cause is simpler. Your nervous system doesn't trust closeness. It trusts space. It trusts silence. It trusts not being needed. Because not being needed means you can leave without consequence. It means you're free. What you really fear isn't intimacy, it's entrapment. The fear that once someone truly depends on you, you won't be able to say no. that you'll disappear inside their expectations, that your needs will become secondary again. So you pull away early before things reach that point. You create emotional distance while everything still looks fine. And then you wonder why you feel lonely. This is the paradox. You crave connection, but only on terms that don't threaten your autonomy. You want closeness that doesn't ask too much. You want intimacy without obligation. And while that makes sense, it's also why this pattern keeps repeating. Because real closeness always involves mutual impact. The work isn't forcing yourself to stay when you want to leave. The work is understanding why staying feels dangerous in the first place, why being needed feels heavier than being alone, why distance feels like relief instead of loss. Until that's addressed, pulling away will always feel like the right move, even when it costs you something you actually wanted.